This is a short demonstration on the Seebrez video measuring system. We have two different parts up here, and we're going to create a small program and a palletization of those parts. So basically this is the software. We're going to come over here and click on record, and we're going to measure a circle right there. And now we have a couple of different tools we're going to use. One of them is going to be a single point tool, just to illustrate the different types of tools. You can see it's a single point. When you hit enter, it places a red dot there. I don't know if you can see it. It edge detect where the edge was, and it now shows that we've measured 1 point. We can spin this around, tool around, and move it to the next location, which will be down here. We can hit enter. Fired a second point. Now we're going to use a bit more robust tool for this particular feature. It's a circle tool, so we can come down here and click on right there. Click on that new tool. We come over here and click once, click twice, click a third time, and then we're going to drag it down. And we're going to come over here and hit enter. And now we've measured 52 points, and you can see them all measured right there. We're going to come around the side of this thing, come over to this location, and use that same tool to create a custom tool for this particular contour. Again, click it 3 times and drag it. If we hit enter point, now we have 102 points around that diameter, and we hit OK. If I was writing this program, I would use or select the circle tool for all of those locations. I just wanted to give you an idea of how at least 2 of the different tools work. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here into this DDE link. We're going to click DDE link. We can choose whatever file we want it to go into, column and row. So we're just going to choose the first column, and we're going to export the diameter out. So we can come over here, and I don't know if you can see that or not. Come up here, look for the D for the diameter, and hit OK. So now if we come over here to Excel, which should be open, we do have some additional information in there, so I'm just going to clear that out real quick. And this one was the data that we ran, that we just measured. So I'm going to get rid of that, so that we run the program, we'll have fresh data in there. So we can come over here back to the program, and now what we're going to do is do a small palletize. We're going to highlight those 3 features. We're going to right mouse key. We're going to go to Programming Wizards and Pallatize. So now we're going to tell it how many parts we have. We have 3 X items, 2 Y items, and our offset that we chose from our fixturing is 0.6 in the X and minus 0.6 in the Y. So once we hit OK, click OK, and that set up a loop to measure 6 parts, 3 across, 2 down. So we come over here and hit pause, and if we hit save as, we can name it whatever we want. We'll just name it something, and then we'll go ahead and hit run. Now I'm going to go back and forth and show you what's going on. So this was the first part we measured. So if we hit run, it's going to go over to the first one. It's going to measure that particular part, dumps the data, goes over to the second part, measures that one. So you can see for this simple particular part, it probably takes 5, 6, 7 seconds for each one, but we could speed it up. We have the system on a very at a slower speed, slower velocity and acceleration, just for this demonstration. And here's what it's doing as we're going from part to part. You can see it's on the 4th part on the bottom. That. And here's the last part. You can see it's a little bit off, but because the tools were large enough, it's going to go ahead and grab those edges for us without a problem. So that's the end of that. We hit OK. We come over here to the data, and there's the data that you can place into this particular file. You can place it into a custom file, some of the ones that we've been sending to you. So there's the data, the diameter on all 6 parts. So we can come back over here, and now if we want to create another program, we can hit this key up here, which basically erases everything and clears all the datums. So now we can bring the stage over here, and there's the next part up on the stage right here. So what we can do, bring this into focus a little bit, and we can do a small adjustment on the brightness and contrast. Turn the contrast down right there so we have a nice crisp image, and we can hit OK. So now we're going to start this program right here again, and we're going to come up with a different tool this time. We used a single point and a circle tool to measure these features. Right now we're going to use what's called a buffer tool. So we're going to click once and click a second time and drag it up. That's for measuring lines. So what we're going to do is we're already recording. We hit the record button. Now we're going to align the part, which is this function right here. So we're going to align it. We're going to hit enter. And that measured 75 points along that particular tool. We'll come over here and we'll hit enter again, and it will measure another 75 points along that, and come all the way over to the other side, right about there. Hit enter again and finish. Now what we've done is we've measured that line and we've aligned it. We've electronically aligned that line. So we're going to come around here. Here's the edge of the part in this direction. So we're going to measure a line, and we're going to, let's just rotate this one. Instead of creating a new tool, we can grab the edges and move it in and come up by the corner and rotate it around. We can place it anywhere we want. We can create the proper size and so forth, and then we can adjust the location of it right there. So let's start with that. We can measure another line right there by hitting enter, and then coming down. That's a pretty short feature, so we'll hit enter again and then finish, or then OK. So now we have 2 lines formed, which is something we didn't show you. This is the part view. It's going to draw the part out for you, just like a CAD system. We're going to come up over here. We're going to make 0. We're going to locate the intersection. If we go to the features list, the intersection of those 2 lines, we're going to create an X, a Y, and a Z0, and hit OK. It moves our datum into the corner. So now we're going to come down around here, this portion of the part right here. We may as well use the tool that's up there so we could spin it. If we grab the corner of it, bring it into the center, and elongate it a little bit. Now we're going to go and measure a second line, or a third one I should say. If we hit enter, pick 75 points, hit enter 75 points, and we'll go all the way to the edge or close to it, and we'll enter and we'll hit OK. So now we've got our 3 lines down there. We'll measure 1 more on the side, and that's that. We'll just make a quick tool instead of sizing it and spinning it. Come over there, hit enter, bring it to the end, enter again, and then OK. So now I've got our 4 lines. We can come up here and measure distance right there. Distance between the first and the third line, or we can just click on the lines themselves and they will highlight them in blue. Right there. Distance between those 2 lines, and they're highlighted there as well. We can name this. Maybe that's dimension 1. So we come over here and hit, I'm going to switch hands here, dimension 1, and maybe that's the that obviously is the Y value. So we'll specifically name that dimension number 1 in the Y. So there we go, and now we'll come over here and we'll click on this right and the left feature. put this down for a half second because no, let's see if we can do this. I'm going to have to hang on 1 second. Okay, I had to use the control key to get those two. So those are the two side walls. Come up with the distance between those two. And that may be, if we double click on this, come up here, maybe that's dimension number 2 in the X. It just keeps it clean. When we have 30 or 40, 50 dimensions, we know which one's which. So there we go. So now what we can do is we can take dimension 1, we highlighted there, come over here to the DDE link again. Let's throw this into column 2 just to keep it clean. And we wanted the Y value because that's what we said. Dimension 1 was the Y value, so the data that we're sending out is the Y value. We hit that, and we come down here to dimension number 2 in the X. We hit the export function. Let's throw that in column 3. Keep it close, and that was the X value. We hit OK. So now we should have our data. If we come over here to Excel, there's our data right there in columns 2 and 3. Formatted a little bit there. And there it is up there at the top. It's the Y value, and that's the X value. So now if we come back over here to the software, what we can do is we've got our features list open right there. And come back over here and click on Program. We do the same thing we did before. We're going to highlight everything from the initial features, initial settings down, right mouse key, Programming Wizards, and Pallatize. This time we have one X item, two Y items. The X offset is 0, and the Y offset is minus 0.8. So if we hit OK, right there, it created a loop. So if we hit pause and save as, save it as another, right there, okay. And then if we run it, hit the run function, it's going to act just like the first program.